And usually when I do fearless features, I introduce somebody, but I'm the fearless feature. And this like just dawned on me. I'm like, well, why don't I do one of these things? They seem to be great. So why
And the
not?
pay is great too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ruth happened. I don't know if you guys have seen Ruth's fearless feature, but Ruth was the very first fearless feature that we had. Yeah. And her talk was fantastic. It was all
Thank you.
about like, in a way, very related to what we're talking about here as well. Okay. So I've got slides to share here, but I invite this to be, a conversation between us as we move along. We have some marketing pros on the line here, and we also have a few novices here as well. So I'd love to get just a sense from you guys on what it feels like to market yourself. So if you can just kind of give a quick little introduction. I'm not going to go around every single person here, but maybe just a couple of people. Just tell us who you are, what you're marketing, and what it feels like to market yourself. And just jump right in. Hey, Michael, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, Greg. Hi, everybody. Whoops. I guess I'm
Greg,
unmuted
I can
already.
jump in.
No, you're good. You're good. Sorry, who was
No,
talking?
I can jump in. I would just say I feel like I have this beautiful gift and only I know what's inside, but I know everyone needs it. And I know once they open the gift, they're going to say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. This is the perfect gift for me. How did you know I needed it? But I don't know how to get that gift into people's hands and have them open it without getting it into their hands and having them open it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you have this wonderful gem of a product, and once they find out about it, they're going to be hooked, right? I feel the same way, Jennifer. Yeah, but how do you get them to find out about it? Big mystery. And as Arlene wrote, uncomfortable and awkward. Yep. Okay, got it. Ruth, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, because many of us, our mothers taught us to be modest and self-effacing. So overcoming that every day is hard.
Yeah,
A challenge.
100% challenge. Yeah, no doubt at all. All right. Anyone else want to just chime in? Yeah, Michael, go for it.
I think for me, it's always like, I think from my perspective, like, why what I have is great, but it's always been a challenge for me to step into the shoes of my desired market and to really kind of understand them and their language. And that still continues to be a bit of a challenge for me.
Okay, well, we're going to have a little discussion about that, Michael, today. So good on you for showing up today. Let me share screen and we'll just jump right in. Just so you guys know, I have a hard out at 1 o'clock. So I don't know, everybody. I'm going to be very respectful of everybody's time here because I got to respect my own time. All right. Bear with me while we get this going. All right. Hang on. I need my notes. Okay. Just give me a thumbs up if you can see the picture of my face. Yeah? Okay. So this is what it feels like to me. Marketing, it's just so fragmented. There's so many things, and it's like trying to catch 1,000 balls falling out of the sky. It's almost impossible to really. Hold on a second, I just lost my notes. Like I said, this is a prototype. So there's just so much to choose from out there. There's so much to do, so many things to think about, and I'm just one person here. And maybe you guys have a small team. I don't. So this hour is really meant to help with helping you not only organize your thoughts here, but also focus and concentrate your efforts and energy where it really counts, right? And the other problem I see here is that there's nobody really talking about marketing in a holistic way. I get daily stuff on my Twitter feed that just talks about these guys like, you can jack your Twitter, you can make, $20,000 a month by doing this certain thing on Twitter, or, you can get more views on your Instagram posts, or you can get more subscribers on YouTube. So it just seems like these little fragmented micro solutions are out there, but no one's talking about the big picture here. And the point that I want to make today is, if you don't have that big picture perspective, your marketing is really going to fall apart. You need to have, and so let me just tell you a little bit here. As Ruth talked about, just putting yourself out there, and making noise, like Ruth is talking about, the humility and being humble. And then we've been taught that since we were young. But here's the problem. You have to make some noise out there. You got to. And this guy is, he's since passed. He passed in 2009, but he's a moonshiner. His name is Popcorn Sutton. And this guy made moonshine under the nose of the law for many, many years. And he had a cat and mouse kind of chasing contest with the FBI. And he would hack his way through the Tennessee backcountry and make his own distilleries from scratch. And he would sell his moonshine that he made out of the back of his truck. How did he sell his moonshine? Well, he made business cards. So it's almost, in a way, a drug dealer making a business card, which sounds like, it's weird. But what Popcorn said is like, I can't sell it if nobody knows I got it. And those are his words. I can't sell it if nobody knows I got it. So to Jennifer's point, you got this gem. Now your gem might not be moonshine, Jennifer, but nobody knows you got it out there. And that's the paradox here, is that we've been taught not to get ourselves out there and to beat our chest and brag about ourselves. But at the same time, you got to make some noise so people know. So let me tell you, this particular talk that I'm giving today, I advertised it one time. I put it on my channels this morning. I put it on LinkedIn last night. And my result is I wanted like 40, 50 people here. Right now, I've got a handful of people, 7 of you here. So there's a gap that I have here. I don't have the marketing system for this particular kind of thing that's garnering me the results that I want. We have to put the system in place. We have to get people out there. I know that people need this information. And I'm not doing myself or anyone else a service by keeping it behind the wall and not advertising it and not letting people know that it's out there. I'm not bragging. I'm just stating a fact. Here's something you might want to know. So the whole point that through that story is that, I'm learning. Going. I was, Elizabeth was a client of mine, by the way. And so she was a chief marketing officer for a telecommunications company. And she was my target audience for many, many years. This is the first time I'm working with entrepreneurs. So it's a whole new way of thinking here for me. And right now, I'm not an expert at it. As a matter of fact, I kind of suck at it. It's just and it's actually really good to build a project that you suck at. And you might suck for years. So here's a project I'm currently sucking at, Fearless Brands. And right now, it's equal parts exhilarating and frustrating. I'd say that Fearless Brands is anywhere between 2% and 13% good compared to my vision for it. It's there. It's there, but it's not there. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the good and I'm making it 0.25% better every day, every week, every chance I have an opportunity. I get to see the gaps. So I saw a gap in the fact that I've got this great event that I'm putting on and I advertised it once. That's lame. I'm not doing myself a service. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to improve. When you see this next time, it's going to be advertised much better. I'm learning. So here it is. I'm inviting you guys to suck with me. Let's all suck together. All right, I'm going to show you something here. Nope, that's not the right one. I'm going to show you this one. I don't know if this is going to come through. I'm going to stop sharing. I just want to make sure the audio comes through. Give me a second here. Share sound. There we go. I'm going to do stereo too, high quality. Okay, so I'm going to show you this video. And I want you guys just to tell me what you think of it. At any given moment, you're being investigated, evaluated, and judged. Unsettling as it sounds, it's true. In the best of cases, this kind of scrutiny is providing the right opportunities for you. But in many cases, your buyers don't understand you or what makes you different. I'm Greg Monaco, and I'm a personal branding coach. And if you're interested in becoming a magnet for the kind of work you love, it's time to reveal your truth and your passion. Okay. Any thoughts from anyone on that video?
It sounds like you're reading it, and there's not enough emotion and energy in your voice.
Great point, Ruth. 100% correct. So let me show you this video. Does your Twitter account frustrate you? Do you compare yourself to all the other social media mavens out there and they have so many followers and you're like, what am I doing wrong? You listen to Gary Vee and Gary Vee's like, post, post, post. You got to post 18 times a day. Well, maybe you don't need to. Not everybody has to go mass. This is a strategic question that you should be asking yourself, because you could, a strategy for you could be that you niche down and speak specifically to a very small number of people. That could be a powerful way to build your voice and your brand. You don't have to have 10,000 followers on Twitter. Maybe all you need are just 10 fans. You notice a difference there?
1000%. Much more authentic, empowered, trusting, clear, emotional, and confident.
Right on. Right on. So that's the difference that 2 years of sucking makes. And I'm not there. But that first video that you saw, I was trying my hardest to make it the best video ever. And Ruth is 100% right. You should see on the other side of the camera, I had a teleprompter that I made, and makeshift teleprompter, and I read every word because I wanted to be perfect and precise. That second one, I shot that on like 3 takes. And I just had some notes in my head. I put a couple of sticky notes up and I just riffed. I got better. I just got better because I kept doing it. So if this is your first time marketing, don't expect it to rain clients. Expect it, but this is what you need to expect. You're going to learn. And as Jennifer was saying, she's in the back of the room making the absolute most perfect product. But the storefront window is empty. And if nobody knows you got it, you're not going to sell anything. So we need to make sure that we're responsible for this storefront window. And that's what CMOs are really responsible for, among other functions. So this is and you being the only marketing officer of yourself here, you are the CMO. And these are the things that a CMO is classically responsible for, which you are subsuming. You're a customer champion, meaning that you create great customer experiences. And that's not just with the product, that's with the entire marketing system that you have. You're a capability builder. So that means that you're developing the systems for marketing so you can become a more capable marketer. You're an innovation catalyst. That means you experiment and you try new tools. You're the chief storyteller. This is pretty obvious. You're the narrative maker. You're also the growth driver, which means that you make a difference in the bottom line. That's what a CMO does. It's a lot of responsibility. And all of those things are crushed onto you now. So congratulations. So I boiled this presentation down to 4 musts. There are 4 things that you really have to do to become a good marketer here. And you have to promise me that you're going to do these musts. Because if you don't, your marketing is going to start to break down. The first must is why. Why are you doing what you're doing? You got to be clear about this. And if you tell me it's about the money, I'm going to tell you you're on your way to burnout. You can't organize your life around a result. There's something that's fueling you, that's something that's driving you, that's absolutely beyond result here. It's more about your mission and your vision and what you see here. It's not about the transaction here. So here's a look at last couple of years of my clients here.
Hey, Greg,
Yes.
did you just want us to be seeing the slide? Because what we're seeing is the slide and the text and everything. I just wanted to let you know that. I didn't know how you wanted to actually be showing this to us.
The slide and the text. So you're seeing, what are you seeing?
We're seeing the whole page, you know, with this slide with the text on the side.
You know what? You know what I did? I just shared the wrong screen. That's what I did. How's that?
Perfect.
All right, good. I told you this is a prototype. So this is a cross section of all my personal branding clients. And all of them have job titles. Like Joe is a CMO, Ryan is a lawyer, Kyoko is also a CMO, Michael is a chief technology officer, Kara is an author and motivational speaker, Arlene, who's with us today, she's a communication strategist and writer, Omar, he's a real estate agent, Renee, she's a musician. So all of these folks have titles here. But what they do is beyond the transaction here. How they identify with how they're helping people is something completely different. They just happen to have those titles. They're driven beyond the transaction. Their why actually transcends the money. So if you don't know why you're serving others, I'm just imploring you, like, don't move forward. Get clear about that. It's the footing on the foundation here. And if you're not clear about why you're helping others, the marketing system is going to break. And so why is it going to break? Well, it's going to break because I'm going to just, you know that marketing is hard. Marketing is expensive. Marketing is challenging. And if your commitment and resolve, that has to be greater than the transaction itself. Because if you're wrapped around the results, you're going to get frustrated. But if you're wrapped around your commitment and why you're doing what you're doing, you have energy. There's only reason why I've been sucking at Fearless for 2 years is because I have energy behind it. I want this to be great. So let's not miss out on the soul of our business here. So you need to know why. You also need to know who. So this is Michael. This is talking about what you brought up in the beginning here. Let me stop there before I go to that second must. Does everybody get what I'm talking about when I talk about the why? Why you're doing what you're doing? It's not easy to identify. You know, Omar, I'll show you this real quick. I thought Omar was going to be here today, but I lined this up. So Omar's a real estate agent, and he's a client of mine, but he's really here to help good people accomplish things they didn't think were possible. He just happens to be a real estate agent. He's also a swim coach. And Michael, you can probably attest to the fact that he's helping his students, swimming students, accomplish things they didn't think were possible. It's ubiquitous. It's just part of the fabric of who he is. If you can align around that, your job title doesn't matter. All right. So who matters to you? Let me just go back here. You gotta, most marketing actually dies right here because there is a lack of clarity on not only who matters, but what matters to those people. So you need to know not only who they are, but what they want. So I'll just tell you a quick story here. As a young creative copywriter, I worked at an agency down in Florida. I wanted to move to New York City to see if I can do what I do with the best of them. So I was smart. I knew that my target audience were creative directors. That's good. So what I did was I did a handful of trips to New York City to speak with creative directors and show them my portfolio. Across the board, every creative director I talked to told me my portfolio was terrible. And finally, I just asked the question and I said, I've talked to, a bunch of creative directors. Everybody has the same opinion about my portfolio. The thing is that all the work in my portfolio has been published. The clients love the work. And this one creative director said to me, well, that's the problem. And I go, what are you talking about? I said, well, you created the work for the clients. I said, okay. And the work wasn't created for me. You need to create your portfolio for me. And that changed everything for me. Because they were looking for work that blew them away. They weren't looking for work that was published, because the work that's published is usually compromised. The client waters it down or something happens. So I need to prove to the creative director that I had a brain and I could think differently. So I had this campaign that I created. This was my best campaign in my portfolio. And I did this last minute because my parents were throwing a garage sale and I said, can I make the signs? And they said, yes, of course you can. So I handmade these signs and I stuck them on poles and I took pictures of them. And let me tell you what, so many people showed up to this garage sale just curious about what's on the other side. It was just a regular run-of-the-mill garage sale full of like old stupid stuff. But people love this. And creative directors loved it because I proved to them that I could think differently. Big lesson. So know who they are, know what they want. So I'm going to give you kind of a path here for you to figure out your own target audience. This is really important. So who do you want to work with? These are the people you aspire to be hanging around with. I'm lucky right now. That cross section of all those people that you saw, I love every one of them. And I would work with them again in an absolute instant. And because I'm choosing them in my own mind, I have an idea of who I want to work with. But that's not all. You need to know also who needs you. You might want to work with these people, but if there's no screaming need for you, then forget it. You can't help. So who needs you, and who really, really needs you? And there's a third part to this as well. which is also who can afford you. If you can find your persona, your person, your profile, I call it the bullseye, there's your sweet spot right there. And when you look at this, you know, I'm going to share this out with you guys, but when you look at this, maybe you'll have a different perspective on who your target audience is. Any questions on that? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Third must, okay? So why, who, story. You got to have a story. It's the connective tissue. So I like to say that you've built, you're on one side of the river, which is your why you're here, why you love helping people. And the other side of the river are the people you want to connect with. We just talked about that. So now you need to build the bridge between the two. That's the story. That's the connective tissue. You're not going to sell a thing if you don't have the connective tissue. The story needs to relate to them. So I'm going to show you some stories here that are summed up very, very quickly. It's actually it's kind of alarming how quickly you can sum up a story. And I want you to pick out the purpose, and I want you to pick out the people it's made for. All right? So here we go. Here's a story. This is for Scottish Inns, which is a hotel chain. If a man comes to take your bags, call the police. And the tagline reads, everything you need, nothing you don't. Okay. Now, you'll know why they're here and who they're for. You can actually back away and back the strategy out of this. So you tell me, I want you to bring the strategy to life here. The why and the who. Can you tell me? Anyone?
Business travelers.
Yep. What kind of business travelers?
Those who travel lightly.
And cheaply.
Yes, exactly. Business travelers who travel lightly and cheaply. So that's their bullseye. You can organize your marketing around that person. Fabulous. That's why they're here too, to create an affordable option for those folks. This ad is so great, I can't tell you how great it is. The art direction is perfect because it's so efficient and there's no frills. And the typeface is just, it's almost utilitarian. There's nothing fancy here. It's so well done. It's great.
It also communicates the kind of culture and personality of the brand. Right?
It does. It humanizes the brand. It has a voice. It has a point of view. Doesn't Scottish Inns now, it feels like a person with a sense of humor.
Right.
Doesn't take itself too seriously, knows who it is, confidently steps into who it is. This is a totally different, funnily enough, the art direction is very similar, but this is also, you can back the strategy out of this. In opinion polls, 100% of economist readers had one. Is your indecision final? And a poster should contain no more than 8 words, which is the maximum the average reader can take at a single glance. This, however, is for economist readers. Why is this here and who is it for? Can you tell me?
Economist readers are deep thinkers.
Perfect. Yeah. And the promise is here.
And big readers. If anybody's ever subscribed to this magazine, it's like it's hard to get through the whole thing.
Can you see how that on the why of the organization and the who they're trying to capture, and how they're connecting, Your marketing will fall flat if you don't have a story. I'll give you one more. This one's just so awesome. The writing's great. I'll just read this first one out. Office coffee. the official coffee of purgatory, the ultimate consolation prize, with all the flavor of wet paper and all the kick of a neutered kitten. You don't trust these people with your stapler. How can you trust them to make your morning cuppa? Fantastic. I'll just read all of them. They're so great. Morning people. They begin the day with a seemingly boundless supply of energy and pluck. Luckily for the rest of us, they usually slow down by around 11 o'clock, at which point they're pretty easy to pick off, swat down, and crush the hope out of. So great. Your alarm clock doesn't get you. Like a good little digital soldier, it blindly follows last night's orders. 6:45? 6:45 was merely a suggestion. You are not the same person you went to bed as. Beeps, buzzes, and the morning zoo cruise simply won't do. Beautiful. I know when I look at these who this coffee is made for and why they exist. This is for coffee addicts. Celebrating your addiction. Any question about storytelling here and making the story right? Because the next part is a little tricky. You need to have why, you need to have who, and you need to have the connective tissue. Now, of course, you need a plan. All right, well, how are you going to start to get the story out there? How are you going to connect with your future friends? So, Ruth, I know you've heard of a marketing funnel before. Has anyone else heard of a marketing funnel? Michael has, yeah? Okay. Marketing funnel is, the visual of it is just like what it is. It just kind of looks, if you can see my screen, me here, it just kind of looks like this, and it like a V shape. And at the top of the funnel are all the people that you're bringing in to your marketing system. And as they become more engaged, the numbers shrink, but the engagement goes up as they go down. And then hopefully at some point there's a transaction that takes place. That's what a marketing funnel is. Big numbers in, small numbers out. So this is something called an engagement curve. And have you seen these, Ruth? Just curious. Yeah. So Ruth knows all about these. So it's kind of like a marketing funnel splayed out. But what I love about these engagement curves is it allows you to kind of plot different projects in order to move people along the process. So let me just open this up to you guys. So you can see here, this is over time, the curve kind of like rolls up like this. And as you move over time, the level of engagement of each person gets deeper and deeper, all the way to like a big transaction here. And then hopefully after that transaction, they loved you so much that they become an advocate and a big fan. So you move them up. The level of engagement goes up. But you have to understand that the number of people will go down as you go up the curve here. So marketing in a lot of ways is a numbers game. You want to have a lot of people at the bottom of the curve because you know that not a ton of them are going to transact. And I don't know what the numbers look like for you. Maybe every 100 people that you engage and make aware of who you are, maybe one of them is going to transact. It's alarming how few you bring up through the funnel here. The other thing that you have to be aware of with these marketing, these engagement curves, is you really have to respect where people are in the process. So a lot of us are hoping for the big transaction, and we gear everything around that transaction. And we forget that we need to bring people through these first two steps first before we can ever hope that they would transact. So we need to make people aware. We exist, we're out there. Hello. We need to know they need to know who we are and what we're about. And then maybe they'll start to lean in and become interested. And over time, that interest, so there's many initiatives here that you can start to plot out how you can help them become more and more interested. And then as they're interested, maybe there's a big transaction that happens there. And then after the transaction, the marketing does not stop. you can hopefully make them a real fan and loyal follower, and also an advocate for the work that you do. So this is a simple way to understand how you can start to formulate a marketing strategy for yourself. I'm going to stop here to just make sure that this makes sense to everybody. Sounds pretty good, right? All right, I'm going to show you an example of this. If this resonates with you, feel free to steal it. The way that I like to build these for my clients is I like to start with a transaction. And the transaction could be anything, really. It could be, this one here says purchase product, whatever the product might be. So Jennifer, it might be signing up for your event. Michael, it might be a membership at Bonfire Society. Arlene, it might be, you know, hiring you for a gig. But there's some kind of ultimate transaction that you'd like to build off of. And maybe you have multiple transactions. Maybe you have a bunch of them. And I would say most likely you would have different engagement curves for each transaction. The minute you start conflating different transactions here, is the minute that this becomes a very confusing model. So to keep it simple, let's stick with one. So purchase a product. Well, the question would be, what can we do to make it easy for someone to purchase a product? So we work our way backwards. What can we do to make it easy for them to purchase the product? Well, maybe they would need to demo the product before they purchase it. So if you can read this stuff, demo product here, or they would have to read about the products before they demoed the product. They'd have to visit the website before they read about the products, before they demo the product, and then they purchase the product. And there's all kinds of things that we can do here in this interest bucket to get people to lean in and move towards purchasing a product. So there's so much work that we have to do here. So how do we make them interested? That's the next question. Working back. How do we make them interested? Well, that means we have to make them aware. And maybe we meet them at a conference, or they see a webinar, or they see some kind of social media, or they read an article. So this is the awareness building. And then once they do that, they'll go to the website. Once they do that, they'll demo a product. Once they do that, maybe they'll purchase. And then if they purchase, well, then that's great. Maybe there's a referral program on the other side of it. Who knows? So this is where marketing can be so confusing, because there is just an infinite number of ways that you can get people interested and aware of what you're up to. And there's only one of you doing this. So it's good. And you know, one of the things that a chief marketing officer does is they're just not afraid of experimenting. You're not going to knock it out of the park first time around. Or you might be surprised. You might get lucky. You might be surprised that something hits. An article that you've written goes viral, a video post that you've done. And then, so the story, I'll just say this, the story is the connective tissue between everything that happens here. Your way of being in the world, so that Scottish Inn's sense of humor and sensibility, that plays in every single aspect of this curve. That's your center of gravity. That is your grounding for everything to happen here. All right. Any questions here? I just want to pause here to see if you have any thoughts or questions as we're moving through it.
Can I make a comment, Greg?
Of course.
I advise my friends who are on this kind of journey to pick the elements that they are good at and they enjoy doing. Because as you said, Greg, there's so much, there's so many options, it's overwhelming. And so how do we decide which ones we can possibly put in place? And that's my advice for how to pick among all the options.
Yeah, because you're going to have more of likelihood of you following through on it. We're not here to do stuff we hate.
Indeed.
That's great. Yeah. And actually your fearless feature, Ruth, talks all about that. Talks about, you know, if you like networking, go for it. If you like writing, go for it. If you like volunteering, go for it.
Thank you for
Yeah.
remembering.
I'm going to show you something else here, because plotting it out on this curve is one thing. And I'm just going to show you just a simple spreadsheet that I put together. So I help my clients this way, is when I visually see it all like that on the curve, I don't know if you can see this. Let me make it bigger. Hopefully that's better here.
Yeah.
I've got, you know, I've got my awareness projects here. I've got my interest projects here. There's that kind of big ultimate transaction that happens. And then I've got my advocacy projects here. And then knowing that I'm not going to do all of them, I just have a category here for immediate needs. So I could plot them here. And then you can start to build the team that you need. If you want to take it all on yourself, have at it. I just recently hired a young lady to help me with my social media. I couldn't do it anymore. Not that I don't like doing the social media stuff, but posting it is just such a time suck. So you might need some help. You might need some help. Okay. So, oh, I lost my screen. Oh, it's right here. All right. So these are the 4 musts.
Hitting a lot of buttons for me today. And just go back to I would put more sticky notes by the advocate. I just got a lot of light bulbs going off. And so being a recovering CMO myself, I think we always underestimate the value of having the customers sell for you. And it isn't just as a referral, but using their testimonials, telling their stories, using their case studies, you know, all of that I think is less expensive and more powerful per dollar than all the things that you do at the top of the funnel. And I was just having this conversation yesterday and even this morning with people about the power of doing reviews, having reviews posted, getting the authenticity and the actual customer stories is just worth what you spend going to conferences and speaking and all of that, which I think is all important as well, if that's what you want to do. But I would just add a lot more sticky notes up at the top there by advocate and see how else you can leverage your advocates. I'm realizing that as I think through my own employment story, and everybody that I've ever worked for was somebody I had worked with in the past that then, you know, hired me to do something else. That's why I'm probably really suck at telling my own story, because I've never had to. And it's kind of all coming together. You know, why did I sign up for Fearless Brands? Because I knew you and I knew what you're capable of, and I knew your brand already, right? So that's kind of the big aha moment for me today, is to really leverage what you can with the people who are already sold on what you do.
Beautifully said. Actually, as you were talking, Elizabeth, and I really appreciate the comment there. You know, this could be, instead of a curve, it actually could be a circle. Like if you were to think about it, because you're 100% right. Like the whole idea here is to generate word of mouth, be a word of mouth generator. So we do all of our work in the awareness and the interest building in order for them, they're going to be wowed by the product. I mean, all of us have years here. They're going to be wowed by the product. How do we cultivate that
Right.
so they slip people into this awareness category as quickly as possible?
Yeah.
And then that's when the marketing machine works for itself. It feeds itself.
Yep.
Beautifully said, beautifully stated.
Think about why you buy things, and do you buy because they have a beautifully curated Instagram feed, or do you buy because someone you know used the product or service and recommended it to you?
Yeah. Great point. Well, we've got a few minutes left here. I thought it might be fun for us to work on somebody's engagement curve. If there's a brave soul out there who'd like, and all of us, oh, Jennifer is like, that took absolutely no time for your hand to go up.
But I also defer to anyone else who would prefer.
But I think we could all learn here. So I put one up. And I think, so using the rules at hand here, you have your why, Jennifer. You're helping people tell their stories, right? Why don't you just give a quick 30-second about your why and about your who, okay? Can you do that?
Sure.
Okay.
I help people mind their stories so that they can know themselves. And my who is anyone interested in a deep dive, introspective look at the moments, the memories, the people, the places that have informed their sense of self. And we achieve that mining of one's authentic voice through a scaffolded journaling process that I came up with as a high school English teacher over the past 27 years.
Okay. So you're helping people mine their own authentic story, right? And your audience is there a particular, can you help people visualize your audience a little better?
This is where it's tricky because I've had success with young people ages 20, 21, all the way through, 60, 70-year-olds. I've had women, men. I have not niched down. Then every time I try to do that with the who, I find another example of someone who's attended a retreat who has found their authentic voice and known themselves more deeply because of it.
Okay.
Is the process for catharsis or in preparation for them to write a book or publish a memoir?
There's two options at the end of our 2 days together. We can continue, someone can choose to continue being what I call process oriented, continue to mine their stories, or can choose in the final session to cultivate the gems that we've collected along the way through sharing and create a 650-word personal narrative statement out of them. And that would be more geared towards someone who wants a product for their website or for their business, or who is heading in the direction of crystallizing perhaps the idea for a memoir.
Okay, so can you already see we have the 4 musts? I think Jennifer's why is very clear. I think she knows why she's here. She doesn't really know who yet. And that's okay. But the more crystal you get about that, I think the more powerful your marketing can be. Yeah. Because the story needs to connect to somebody where they are. And if you're connecting to a 20-year-old the same way you're connecting to a 70-year-old, it's not going to resonate. So there has to be a commitment for you to create a story that resonates. So perhaps there's 2 different products that are here. So I'm just bringing that up because that's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough decision to make. And it might be something that evolves over time. But for the sake of this exercise here, we've got like 8 minutes left. Why don't we just talk about that ultimate transaction? What would you like people to do? What do you want them? What is that? To hire you, to sign up for a course? What do you want?
I could pick one. There's several, but let's go with purchase the retreat.
Purchase what?
The retreat.
Okay. what needs to happen to make it easy for these people to purchase the retreat? Just before the retreat, just before this just before they hit click, what would need to happen?
Speaking with someone who has attended a previous one.
Ah. Okay, that's a great.
Maybe not even speaking with them, but reading the testimonials.
Okay, that's maybe down here.
Or even someone from the retreat previous calling them and saying you really should do this.
Can you guys start to see this come to life? Can you start to see this come to life? This is exciting because now that's powerful. Speaking with someone from the retreat or a phone call, there's an initiative that you could create specifically around that, knowing that that's going to be the thing that's going to get them to purchase. So what needs to happen to make it easy for them to have a phone call or speak with someone at the retreat? What would need to happen there?
Going to my website and reading.
There you go.
the testimonials.
Yep. Sorry, I'm spazzing here. Here we go. So there needs to be some kind of website visit. Right on. That way they can read the testimonials. Very good. What needs to happen before the website visit?
They need to either meet me at a conference or they need to see my business card somewhere. I don't know how effective that is. Obviously, they need to know about the website.
Okay. Meet you at a conference. Take
Webinar or podcast or
oh yeah.
or read a blog entry posted on social media. And I really appreciate it. I think it was Elizabeth who said, do what you love. So I love to write. So I decided that my blogs will be, my social media posts rather will be the same as my articles on my website.
Yep. So where do you think you are in so I would categorize this stuff here. I'm going to just put that in green. These are the awareness building tactics. These are the interest tactics. So once they become aware of you, and then this is the big purchase event. Oh, yeah. Where do you think you are? This might be loaded. Where do you think you're most deficient in this process here? What do you think needs the most work?
What am I more efficient at or what needs the most work?
Well, I said deficient.
Oh, deficient.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Love that. I'm social media.
Right here. So there needs, so it's in the awareness, it's probably in the awareness building stage here. But once they get to the website, you've got some testimonials there, and then you might not have this system set up where they have a phone call or something, but you can build that into it, because maybe there needs to be, how do you know, let me ask you this, how do you know when they are interested enough to talk to somebody or take a phone call after the visit on the website?
It's a great question. I don't.
So maybe there's something, so you're going to start to see that when you look at the stuff on a curve like this, you're going to start to see where it breaks down.
Okay.
Okay. I know that once they talk to somebody, they're going to purchase the retreat because my testimonials are so strong, but I have no way for them to talk to somebody. I need to develop something here. There's a gap here that I need to develop.
Right.
And then if you don't have enough numbers happening on this side in the awareness? What is it that I can do to boost those numbers that I like doing, to Ruth's point? And then, of course, advocacy. We don't want to ignore that, as Elizabeth was talking about. How can we finish off the cycle, turn them into fans, turn them into evangelists of our work? What could happen after the retreat?
Zoom follow-up mini sessions.
Follow-up sessions, yeah. Do you do that currently?
No, but I would love to.
Yeah.
And I guess I have to decide, would those be closed to just people who've done the retreat, which was my initial idea, or would they be offered opportunities to bring someone perhaps for a smaller session or an introductory session? Because someone who spent 16 hours with me already is in a very different place than someone new, and yet I do want my previous host to introduce me to new folks. So maybe I need to clarify the purpose of different types of Zoom follow-up.
Good. So we are about a minute away here. I just want to pause and hopefully you guys in this coaching session here got something out of what Jennifer was sharing, and you can relate to it. Yeah, and I'm happy to send this. I'll drop this into Fearless, guys. Any parting thoughts on what you saw here today?
I guess for me, the takeaway is to just be a lot more intentional.
Yeah.
I want to do this. I was going to ask for your little program, but then I was like, I could actually physically do this on my wall. So
Yep.
well,
And I'll share the spreadsheet with you as well, so you can start plotting it out there.
Awesome. This was really great. Thank you so much. And Jennifer, thanks for being willing to be the guinea pig.
Oh, thank you so much, everybody. I'm just so grateful for the advice. I'm only 4 months into this, so I'm taking every piece of advice I can.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're on the journey with you. All right, Fearless friends, take care. Hector, I hope your daughter's feeling better. And again, if you guys need photography, Hector's your man.
All right. Happy weekend. Bye-bye.
Love you all. Take care. Bye now.